His name was Geralt of Rivia. He was a witcher, a professional monster slayer.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. We found out all kinds of stuff about the Witcher series, when it's going to drop, how many episodes there are going to be, so this is just going to be a breakdown of what's going on. Longclaw is going to have to stand in for his swords at the moment. I need to get some replicas, but he has two swords. One of them is named Sahil, but one of them's silver, one of them's steel. There was a Netflix event in Rome recently where they talked about the series. Everyone went crazy, so it sounds like the showrunner was cleared to talk about details of how the show would be structured, when the episodes would drop. They haven't announced any casting yet, but if you remember when they were ramping up for Game of Thrones, it's kind of like that. So hopefully they don't wind up like Game of Thrones is now, where they don't release any information and none of the stars are on social media posting about it. So if you're finding me for the first time, be sure to subscribe to get the videos. Obviously, I'll be doing episodes for this when it gets here, but it's gonna be a while. So first big thing, she said that the series probably wouldn't premiere till 2020, which makes sense because they haven't cast it yet. They haven't hired any of the key people in any of the departments that are actually going to be shooting it. She, of course, said that they'd be shooting it in Eastern Europe just to maintain the look and feel of the series. I think everyone kind of assumed that that was going to happen. So if you are a production person and you live in Eastern Europe, you might have a shot at working on this series because they're staffing up really soon. But the reason why it's probably not going to drop till 2020 is because even if they're able to cast the show and start shooting it by the end of this year, they have to finish all the episodes before they can premiere it, and it usually takes them about 6 months to promote a show. Netflix isn't really great at promoting their shows. Like, they'll drop a couple trailers, they might do a bunch of interviews. Stranger Things Season 2 is a good example of a really big show of theirs that they put a lot of money behind in marketing. Hopefully they'll do the same thing for The Witcher, because I do think that they want this to be their big Game of Thrones show. They have a couple series that seem like they're really big, but the only ones that they make a lot of noise about year to year are the Marvel Netflix series. And because of the Disney streaming service, I think that Netflix wants to get its hands on some really good original IP that it can control, not something that's co-owned by Disney. She confirmed that it would probably be 8 episodes for the first season, but like a lot of Netflix series, they might expand that to 10 or 13 depending on how it does. The reason why it's only 8 is mostly for budgetary reasons and for pacing reasons. One of the big problems that Netflix has with its Marvel shows is that they're all 13 episodes, but they feel like they're 6 episodes of story, so people are just like, oh god, this is a slog to get through this. She did say the script still needs a polish, but when someone suggested or said that she had claimed that it was going to be Sword of Destiny and Last Wish, 2 of the short stories that take place before sort of like the main body of the novels, she was like, I don't think that I've said that. So she didn't confirm exactly what the story would be, but if you play the game, then you know that the game is basically a continuation of the book story, and the show is probably going to be doing the books, so I would expect maybe some minor edits, but for the most part, you've read the novels. That's basically what they're going to be doing for the TV show. So it's not like it's going to be a sequel to the games or anything like that. Like, they're not going to keep moving forward in the timeline. If you haven't read the books, Last Wish and Sword of Destiny are like a collection of short stories. Last Wish is the first one. He sort of sits in a church and recounts previous adventures that he's been on through a series of what becomes those short stories. So it starts with Voice of Reason, The Witcher, Grain of Truth, The Lesser Evil, A Question of Price, The Edge of the World, The Last Wish. Sword of Destiny is the second book of short stories, but it was published first, but it takes place after the events of Last Wish. So if you want to read things chronologically, you read Sword of Destiny second, but it just depends on how you like to experience the story. If you're not familiar with the series at all, or you've just started playing the games, Geralt is basically a monster hunter that goes from town to town in exchange for payment. Like, it's his profession.
To lift the curse that held a monarch's daughter, it was enough to spend the night with the princess, dusk till dawn. If only she were not a deadly beast, a striga. The traitor responsible for the curse became the bait.
So I think that's also one of the reasons why it's going to take till 2020 to get the series here, because it's not just like Game of Thrones where you're trying to just do dragons or just do direwolves or minor special effects like that. They're doing all manner of supernatural creatures. So it's just a lot more diverse in the sizes and types of monsters that he fights. Like, he could fight really big dragons, he could fight really small undead people, he could fight spirits, pretty much anything you could imagine. dwarves, elves, all manner of fantasy creature exists within the world. So I think it's going to be pretty exciting if you're a big fan of fantasy series. But obviously the thing to do until the series gets here is just play the games. Even though the game studio has said that they don't plan on making a Witcher 4, they did say that they're adding Geralt to Soul Calibur 6 this year, so that's like the big place that the character is going to be showing up. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Netflix series does well, if Netflix wants to throw some money behind some game development. But they're not in the business of making video games, so I wouldn't hold my breath for that. But people always do joke about Netflix's deep, unlimited pockets. My hope is that even if they don't spin off a whole bunch of other IP for their Netflix series, that they at least greenlight a season 2 for more episodes, maybe 13. I've never seen a Netflix series with its scope and budget as big as what this looks like it's going to be do more than 13 episodes. So that's just like where my expectations are for potential future seasons. But like if you've seen the anime and the animated series that Netflix has been doing recently, like Castlevania is a really solid series. They only did 4 episodes just because they didn't know if it'd be successful, and it's really expensive to do stuff like that. So they kind of tested out like, here, it was a really small story. This was originally going to be a movie, so we're just going to break it into 4 parts. People loved it so much they came back for season 2 with 8 episodes. So speaking of which, there actually will be a Castlevania season 2 trailer sometime late in May. That's I think when the season 1 trailer dropped. So I'm expecting season 2 of that to drop sometime in July. I wouldn't be surprised if when Witcher does drop during 2020, they do try to drop it sometime spring or summer. Netflix has a lot more competition during the traditional TV watching season, but with a series as big as this, I don't think that'll be as much of an issue. And because the Game of Thrones main series will have already ended, and they might not have the Lord of the Rings series ready to go, and the Game of Thrones prequel series may not have premiered yet, this looks like it won't have as much competition as it would normally have. So hopefully it'll get a little more attention. But let me know in the comments what kind of bonus videos you want me to do until they premiere, because if they haven't even hired the people to actually shoot the series or even cast the actors, it's going to be a long time before we see a trailer. So once we learn a little bit more about what their start date is going to be, and once they start announcing who some of their cast members are, I'll do another video. But just leave all your requests in the comments below. What's going to happen this weekend, though, is that Westworld Season 2 is going to premiere. I'll be doing videos for that Sunday nights, just like I normally would. If you've found my channel since Season 1 premiered, it's been forever since Season 1, so no worries. But click here for new Game of Thrones in the meantime, and click here for that last big Westworld trailer. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.